Hello everybody, it's Jayma here, and today I have a double page scrapbook layout for you. I am going to build on just a white piece of paper because what I have in mind is lots of layers and it's going to be easiest just to build on one solid background. I have a lot of beach photos. Actually, some of these are beach photos. This is my good friend Cindy, and I'm going to talk about our time at the beach together in a little bit. And then I have some photos that are not beachy, but they're a little bit botanical. This layout's going to be all about our day one in the Riviera Maya on our vacation. I found a sketch that's going to work really well for my photos. This is in the creative design team's new 12 by 12 sketchbook. So following the sketch, I actually usually look up a sketch first and kind of decide what might work with the photos I'm planning. I'll look at the photos in my phone, kind of see the orientations and the sizes I might want to do, and then I'll find a sketch that will match. So that's what I did, and I just wanted to make sure that everything will line up properly and look good. Now, sometimes I might not follow the sketch exactly like this. I could put, if I didn't have a 4x6, but I had, lots of portrait orientation photos, or if I didn't have a landscape photo and I had lots of portrait, I could do 2 in the place of this 1. But I do have this cute photo of Cindy, and actually her cute outfit here is inspiring all the colors that I want to use in this layout. And then over here we've got some 3x3 photos, and I didn't want to crop these because we have a lot of background that I wanted to show. I wanted to keep this leaf in frame because I like the way that looks. I might swap these actually. And then I have this one. I could use a flip flap over here. I already am gonna have a flip flap here, so I'm thinking I'm gonna do this. I'd already played with it a little bit, and I think that this is still gonna work even though I've got 3x4 photos. I just won't have as big of a embellishment cluster here, and then these will just go a little bit further up and down. But I think that that's gonna work, and then this calls for a journaling spot right here, and I'm gonna put a photo there instead, because over here I have this photo of my breakfast. This was chilaquiles and it was so delicious. I wanted to include that and talk about it in my journaling, our first breakfast that we had there. So I'm just gonna put this in a flip flap, and then I'll have my journaling here when you lift it up. That way this doesn't have to be a focal point of the layout. I don't necessarily need it to be a focal point, but I think that this kind of layout is going to work well. So now to choose our papers. I've narrowed it down from my collection of papers, thinking that this is sort of the direction I want to go, but I'm not totally decided. So we've got lots of layers like I talked about. This could be my base page, but I'm thinking I want this to actually be like a skinny strip and a skinny strip instead of the whole base page. And then we'll have a strip here and here. And then we've got these pieces here, and then this piece all the way across here. I'm thinking that's going to be a wood grain, but I want to try some out. The other thing is I want to bring in these colors in Cindy's outfit, and then this blue also matches the really beautiful ocean color. So this is, I want to say this is Summer Splash. It might be Coastal Cabana, but I think it's Summer Splash, and it matches her outfit perfectly. But I also have a lot of green in these trees, so I have to be conscious of that I don't, drown that out. I want to highlight all the blues and greens that we have, but not drown them out. We also have hot pink. This is Melon Mambo. I love this color, and that matches her outfit perfectly. And then I pulled out a couple of green options because this green, which is Granny Apple Green, it will match the trees better, but then this super bright green will match her outfit better. But I think it might be a little bit too bright, but I want to try them, so I brought both of them in to try. And then I also brought in these wood grains, and I'm thinking that one of these is going to go right behind the photos, because if I bring in either the green or the kind of tealy color, both of those are not going to pop, my photos are not going to pop on them. So see how this one just kind of blends in to the background with all the green. And then this one kind of clashes, but I still think it's going to be a nice complement used in different ways. And then over here, if I'm going to use it behind here, it kind of blends in with the sky and the ocean a little bit. And then this just doesn't really stand out a whole lot. So that's partly why I was thinking pink. And I might bring in little pops of black as well, but I want to try these to be what's directly behind my photos. So this will be kind of like a skinnier strip like this. So we have this option, and these are from the Country Woods Designers Series paper pack. So here are just a couple of them, and these are going to be on their own mat. So far, I'm liking this better. I feel like this kind of warmer tone brings out the sand. I do like gray, but I feel like this is too cool, or my photos are a bit warmer. This has a warmer look, so we could try this and see how that's gonna look. I just like the look of this. I feel like it's kind of reminiscent of driftwood and kind of sand colors. So I am gonna go ahead with this behind my photos. So we also have a mat here that's different than this whole background. So there's like a mat around the photos. I've already matted them all in white, but there's this additional mat here. And I'm thinking the pink might be good for that because these colors are going to really pop off the pink, and it will bring the pink in from over there to over here. There's a little pink back there. It kind of brings out our skin tones. I think I'm liking that. It really pops. I even have hot pink sunglasses. A lot of times I take my sunglasses off in photos because it's often distracting, but in this case it works quite well. I've got them on over here also. So I think that might be my matte color. And then what I bring in over here, I'm going to want to bring in over here too. So there's this piece right here, and this is going to be very bold for this spot, but I'm thinking if I cover some of it up with embellishments, this is going to be, you know, pushed up and down more. We'll have some of this covered with embellishments. I might even cut it a little skinnier just so there's not as much showing since it's so bold. But I do think I'm gonna like how it's carried over from here to here, and then we have the little pop in the middle. We also have the watermelon here too. So I think that that might work nicely. I'm not quite sure what else to do besides that. So we need to figure out what is going to be this piece right here. There's like a strip behind or above the wood grain. So am I gonna want this? So this is going to be on the pink, but it is still going to be next to this, and I still don't like this color right next to there. So what if we bump this color up here as like the piece that's up here? And I might actually bring in a patterned paper. There was this patterned paper from the Unbounded Beauty collection, and I think that this kind of, I just like the kind of texture in there, but we're gonna need something between here. There's this paper that's like a wood grain. It's just white with a wood grain texture. It almost looks like it's embossed. That could go in between here. And then let's try the greens. See if I'm gonna like, I can already tell, I don't think I'm gonna like that really bright limey green. I think that's too much. I think that this one, I like that better because it matches the trees better. And then this photo is going to be matted on here and covering up that. So it's gonna be like that. I think I am gonna like that. Actually, you know what? This is bothering me a little bit because this is really bright white and this is more of like a creamy white. I'm gonna bring in just the regular white paper. Okay, so let me see if we put this here. I think I like that better. Plus we already have wood grain here, so that wood grain texture was a bit much. So these papers, for some reason they're a little different. This is Stampin' Up's just regular white. I think it's Whisper White. And then this is the wood grain paper, and it's a much brighter white than the regular cardstock. So I think that this matches this wood grain paper a bit more. So we'll have this down here, and then this will be a border here too. So let me go ahead and cut everything, and then we'll see how it all looks. Okay, so here we are with what we talked about. I changed one thing. I swapped out for this paper in the same paper pack as the other one, Unbounded Beauty. But I liked the florals with what Cindy's wearing and with the foliage and the trees. I just thought that that was a really nice look as opposed to this. So let me know what you think. I am liking this. I think that it really highlights Cindy's shirt, and I love that because this really is a focal photo for me because Cindy and I are really good friends and we really bonded over this trip, and this beach day was just a really special time with her. So I'm going to talk about that in my journaling, and I really want this photo to stand out. But to me, there's something missing. So I was thinking this needs a little bit of black. So I cut some black photo mats, and I thought that that would help make my photos pop just a little bit more against that background. Now we're going to start getting a little tight here, so I could either overlap them with this mat here, or I could kind of tuck them under so it's like 3 sides of the mat is showing, and I think I'm liking that. So let me get all of these mats put in place. So there we go. I really think that that helps. We've got a unified look with all of our photos. These white pieces are looking a little bit plain. So I was thinking I could do some stamping, and I've pulled out a few sets. I've got the Beauty of the Deep, which I've already pre-cut some of these as embellishments that I'm pretty sure I will use, as well as the Seaside Wishes. Now there are dies in here as well as the stamps. I keep the dies in here. And then this one also comes with an embossing folder. Let me show you the embellishments I made with those already. I was just kind of playing around. And so you can cut the dies at the same time as it's in the embossing folder. So it cuts and embosses all of this detail at the same time. And then for this one, I just took my blending brush and I just blended over a little bit with my Close to My Heart Toffee ink. I don't have all of the Stampin' Up colors yet, but the Close to My Heart Toffee ink is what I used for here. And I think these are going to make really cute little embellishments. So I've got that, but what I'm actually thinking of doing for my stamping is this one here, the Layers of Beauty. I think that this stamp here is gonna look really pretty, kind of tucked underneath, stamped on these pieces. So I'm gonna test that out. I've stamped it in the Summer Splash color from Stampin' Up. And this is the first generation, and this is the second generation where I stamped off and I get a much lighter image. What I've noticed is with the Stampin' Up inks, I really, truly like the inks, but they just work a little differently. The pad is different. And when you stamp off, maybe it's the stamps, but the second generation is a lot lighter than it is with the Close to My Heart inks or with the Close to My Heart stamps. I'm not sure which it is. So this is quite light, and I think that's going to be maybe a little too light, but let me just check. I'm going to stick this under here. I'm thinking that it's going to be kind of an anchor for my embellishment clusters, but I'll stamp it right on here. I do think that's a little bit light, so let's try this one. I have not glued anything down or committed. It does compete with this a little bit, but I feel like if I tuck it under enough and just have a little sticking out, plus I'll have embellishments covering up some of it, I think it's going to be a nice addition to kind of bring in that kind of floral and foliage look that I'm going for. So I'm going to stamp it here, and then we have another embellishment cluster up here according to the sketch. So I might kind of stamp it crooked so there's not as much sticking out. And you know, by doing this, I also don't need a lot of embellishments. I can just maybe even do some small embellishments because this is already kind of making an embellishment cluster for me. And then the other embellishment cluster is called for being down here. So I might move this one over a bit and have the cluster here instead. So I might stamp it so it's kind of sticking down like this. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got my Summer Splash ink pad here, and I'm going to tap it ever so lightly. That's the one thing with the Stampin' Up! Ink pads is they are juicier than Close to My Heart. So sometimes, like you saw me wipe off the edge, the ink might get around the edge of the block, and you just need to tap it very lightly. I know if you're used to Close to My Heart like I am, you do have to press the ink against the stamp quite a bit more. There's no right or wrong way, they're just different, so I just want to make sure that you are aware. And I'm really liking how this is looking so far, and I think once I get all of my papers in place, it's going to be the perfect amount of that little image peeking through. And then the rest of my embellishments are going to be beach themed. So we've got the floral and the beach theme, and I really am loving this. So let me get these things kind of back in place and make sure I like it, and I do. So you may have noticed on the right side, I tore this piece so that I would have a little bit of a torn edge that is shown in the sketch. So I did that, and I like the way that that looks. I didn't do it to the top, just to this bottom one. And then I'm just kind of curling and folding the little edges over so it gives it just a little bit more of a rough and textured edge. And here we go. I like how that looked. Now this hot pink was just a little bit too plain. So I thought, what about adding a little bit of stamping on this as well? And I didn't want it to be as bold as just first generation. So what I'm doing is I am doing second generation with this, and I'm stamping off on scrap paper and then going down on my pink paper just to give a very subtle pattern in the background. And this is giving even a more subtle background than with the Stampin' Up! Ink. So it's making me think that it is the actual stamps from Stampin' Up! That get more ink off the first time, and then the second generation is not quite as dark as with Close to My Heart stamp. It's really hard to see this effect on camera, but even in real life, it's very subtle, but I can tell it's there, and I like the detail that it adds. So I just lined that strip up on my Versamat and made sure that my photos were just both of them on either side of the 6-inch mark. And then I'm going to cut these little dovetails in this piece, just like the sketch calls for. So I just cut straight up in the middle and then come in from each corner to the top of that cut. That is the easiest way I have ever found to cut dovetails. You can kind of fold it in half without actually folding it, kind of curl it and cut it up, but with the photos on here, I couldn't really do that. But I wanted to have the photos in place first so that I knew how far up I could make that dovetail. If you're enjoying this video so far, I invite you to hit that thumbs up so that YouTube knows that you're liking this video. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe. I do post scrapbooking videos almost exclusively 1 to 2 times a week. So I would love to have you join us here. Now I'm going to show you how I did that little ink treatment on the other sand dollar. So I just took my blending brush and very lightly went around the center. I wanted to keep it a little bit white around the outside and just bring out a little bit of that texture in the middle part. And I think it looks really good. Just keep in mind, whenever you put ink down, it always dries a lot lighter. So that one on the far left that I did earlier, you can tell that it's a lighter color because it's already dried back and soaked in. And the others will do the same. I have already pre-cut a whole bunch of die cuts, and I also had stamped some stamps and die cut them out, and I'm not sure what all I'm going to use at this point. I just cut a ton because I figured, you know what, I've got other beach layouts to do, might as well just cut a whole bunch at once, and then whatever I don't use today, I'll use on another layout. I really love these little, these come in the sand dollar set, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to be, kind of like round coral pieces, I guess, but those are in the sand dollar set, and then the little corally pieces are in the Beauty of the Deep set. I think both of those sets are really, really wonderful for beach layouts. And what I'm trying to do here is just make sure that I have all of the different colors represented in each cluster. So I have a sand dollar in each cluster, and I have some aqua in each cluster, and now I'm adding a little glitter piece. I had these sprigs pre-cut from a different project. They're from a different die set than what I showed you, but they worked absolutely perfectly here. I love just the little bit of glitter, glitz and glam that it adds. So I'm adding that in each cluster, and making sure that I have enough pops of black too. I wanted just a very subtle black accent, and I'm going to bring in more black with my title as well. I mentioned that I was with my friend Cindy on the beach, and I forget where we first met. It might have been a convention, but then we connected online and, connected because we found out we're both empaths and very sensitive people and introverts, and we bonded over that. And my husband and I went to go just hang out on the beach, and we ran across Cindy, and I ended up just kind of ditching my husband. He didn't mind, and hanging out with Cindy for several hours, just hanging out and talking and catching up, and it was just so fun. Meanwhile, my husband was just relaxing and kept getting beers delivered to him, and he was just like in his happy place. He was in the shade under a palm tree and did not put any sunscreen on because he thought, oh, I'm in the shade, and like practically burned his legs off. So that's how we remember that day, me and him. It's kind of funny. Anyways, back to the layout. I was looking back at the layout and thought, you know what, I need a little bit of pink in my clusters because it's so bold in those mats. So I used these sprigs, and they were just the perfect touch. I love that you can just kind of pull them apart and use little pieces of them. And then I had to use my little scissors to kind of make it look like it wasn't just torn off, but just put a little bit here and there in the clusters. It almost even looks like coral, and I think that helps to balance that hot pink around the layout. For my title, I cut it on my Cricut, and I decided to draw in a little bit more black. Now, these elements over on the left in my cluster, those like little coral pieces, they were just kind of coming out of nowhere. So I used that day one to kind of anchor them and give it, something for those pieces of coral to come out of. And I just printed that on my computer. It's just a black text box with white writing. There's also this little splatter stamp. It looks like sand, I thought, in one of the stamp sets, the Beauty of the Deep set. So I'm using that with toffee ink to kind of add some little sand bits around, and I wanted a little more around the title as well. Now, as I'm looking back at this, I'm thinking, it just needs something else. Something is not quite right and balanced. So I gave it a few hours, and I came back and thought, what if I add just little skinny strips of black at the top, because it just looked a little blank and not balanced. So I tried it, and I think that looks perfect. Now I just needed one more finishing touch, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to use these flat-backed pearls, the ones I just put to the side, or these iridescent foil gems, which have really been my go-to. These are my favorite new embellishments. As you can see, the iridescent foil gems won out, so I'm going to put 3 in each cluster. These are so pretty. They've got gold little glitter flecks as well as iridescent, like that kind of purpley, pinky iridescent color, like little flecks in them as well in a clear bubble. So they really go with everything, and I think that they even resemble bubbles, which is perfect for being at the beach. So they gave the perfect finishing touch to this layout. Let me pull this up close so you can see all the details. Remember, there's going to be a flip flap on that far left photo, so it's not going to be my breakfast just front and center there. And I just love how these little clusters turned out. I love that I was able to get a little bit of bling in there. I've got to have the bling. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, check out the video that's on screen now. It's another video from the same trip, and I hope you get some ideas for your own layouts. Have a great day.